Look up tonight, you might see it. That familiar, friendly face hanging in the darkness. The moon. It has been our planet's constant companion for billions of years, a silent witness to everything that has ever happened here. It watched the dinosaurs roam and saw the first humans gaze up in wonder. It's more than just a beautiful light in the night sky. It's a fundamental part of what makes our world, our Earth, the living, breathing planet it is. Without it, the story of our home would have been vastly, unimaginably different. The very rhythm of life, the pulse of the oceans, is tied to this celestial partner. For all of human history, we have told stories about the moon. We've written poems about its silvery glow and songs about its mysterious beauty. Ancient civilizations built calendars around its phases, using its predictable cycle to mark the passage of time, to plant crops, and to celebrate festivals. It's woven into the very fabric of our cultures, a universal symbol of change, mystery, and constancy. It pulls on our imaginations just as surely as it pulls on our seas. This deep connection isn't just romantic, it's profoundly scientific. The moon is our anchor in the cosmos, a stabilizing force that has allowed complex life to flourish. Think of the Earth and Moon as dance partners, locked in a gravitational embrace for eons. So why is our moon leaving us? The answer lies in the very same force that keeps it bound to us, gravity. It's all part of that intricate gravitational dance I mentioned. The moon's gravity pulls on the Earth, and the primary effect of that pull is the ocean tides. As the Earth spins, it tries to drag the tidal bulges along with it. However, the water doesn't move instantly. There's a bit of friction, a bit of lag. This means the tidal bulge on Earth gets slightly ahead of the moon in its orbit. It's like a lead dancer pulling just a little too fast for their partner. This out-of-sync tidal bulge has its own gravitational pull. It tugs the moon forward, giving it a tiny boost of energy. When you give an orbiting object more energy, you don't just make it go faster, you push it into a higher, wider orbit. So this constant, gentle pull from our own oceans is nudging the moon, millimeter by millimeter, into a more distant path around the Earth. It's a fascinating exchange of energy. How do we know this is happening? We can measure it with incredible precision. During the Apollo missions, astronauts left special mirrors on the moon's surface called retroreflectors. Here on Earth, scientists at observatories can shoot powerful laser beams at these mirrors. The light bounces back, and by measuring the round-trip travel time of the laser pulse down to the picosecond, they can calculate the exact distance to the moon. These measurements have confirmed it. The moon is moving away from us at a rate of about 3.8 centimeters, or 1.5 inches, every single year. About the same speed your fingernails grow. Now let's imagine something dramatic. What if this slow, graceful departure suddenly sped up? What if, instead of 3.8 centimeters a year, the moon started receding at a rate of 1 kilometer a day, then 100, then 1,000? This isn't just a change in astronomical numbers. It would trigger a chain reaction that would unravel the stability of our world. The very systems that make Earth a haven for life would begin to break down one by one. The planet we know would start to vanish, replaced by a world of extremes. The first and most immediate effects would be felt in our oceans. The tides, that reliable pulse of the planet, would begin to weaken dramatically. As the moon's gravitational influence lessened with distance, the difference between high and low tide would shrink. Coastal cities that have engineered their ports and flood defenses around the current tidal range would see their maritime infrastructure become less relevant. But the real impact would be on the ecosystems that depend on the daily ebb and flow of the water. As the moon continued its rapid retreat, the sky itself would change. Each night the moon would appear visibly smaller and dimmer. The comforting, brilliant disk that illuminates our nights would fade into just another point of light, barely distinguishable from the brightest stars. The romantic moonlit walk would become a thing of the past. Our nights would become profoundly dark, an inky blackness broken only by starlight. This would be a deep primal darkness, the kind our ancestors, even in the most remote wilderness, never had to experience. The world would be split into two extremes, the harsh glare of daytime and the deep, unending black of night. Let's dive deeper into the oceans. The tides are more than just water moving up and down. They are the planet's circulatory system. They mix the water, circulating vital nutrients from the deep sea to the surface and oxygen from the surface to the depths. This mixing is essential for marine life, especially for phytoplankton, the microscopic plants that form the base of the entire marine food web. As the moon sped away, this circulation would grind to a halt. The oceans would become stagnant, stratified layers of water with nutrient-poor, oxygen-rich surfaces and dark, anoxic depths devoid of life. The intertidal zones, those incredibly rich ecosystems found on coastlines around the world, would be the first casualties. These are the areas that are covered by water at high tide and exposed to the air at low tide. They are home to a staggering diversity of life, from barnacles and mussels to starfish and crabs, all specially adapted to this challenging, ever-changing environment. As the tides vanished, these zones would simply cease to exist. They would become permanently dry land or permanently submerged seabed, wiping out countless species and destroying one of the most productive habitats on Earth. The impact would ripple through the entire ocean food chain. Larger animals that feed in the intertidal zones, like shorebirds and raccoons, would lose their primary source of food. The decline in phytoplankton due to poor nutrient circulation would starve the zooplankton that eat them, which would in turn starve the small fish, and so on, all the way up to the great whales and sharks. The oceans, which currently teem with life, would become vast aquatic deserts. The fishing industries that billions of people depend on for food and livelihood would collapse completely. And it's not just about the biology. Tides play a crucial role in shaping our planet's climate. The massive movement of water helps to distribute heat around the globe, from the equator to the poles. The great ocean currents, like the Gulf Stream, are influenced by tidal forces. Without the tides, this global heat transfer system would be altered in unpredictable ways. Some regions could become much hotter, while others might plunge into deep freezes. The moon's escape would not only change our oceans and nights, it would fundamentally alter our perception of time itself. As I mentioned earlier, the tides act as a brake on the Earth's rotation. The friction of the tidal bulges dragging against the seafloor slows our planet down, making our days longer. This process is happening right now, lengthening our day by about 2 milliseconds every century. It's a tiny amount, but it adds up. If the moon were to completely vanish, this braking force would disappear. The Earth's rotation would no longer be slowing down. Now, if the moon were to leave rapidly, the immediate effect would be the cessation of this braking. The length of the day would stabilize at its current 24 hours. But let's rewind to the early Earth, when the moon was much closer. The days were perhaps only 6 hours long. It is the moon's slow retreat over billions of years that has braked our planet's spin and given us the 24-hour day we are so accustomed to. Let's consider the opposite scenario for a moment, which helps illustrate the point. If we could somehow bring the moon closer, the tidal forces would increase dramatically. The braking effect would become much stronger, and the Earth's rotation would slow down much more quickly. Our days would get progressively longer. Imagine a 30-hour day, or even a 50-hour day. This would create extreme temperature swings. A day with 25 hours of continuous, blistering sunlight would be followed by a night with 25 hours of frigid darkness. Most plant and animal life would struggle to adapt to such a drastic cycle. The 24-hour day-night cycle is deeply embedded in the biology of almost every living thing on this planet. It governs our sleep patterns, our metabolism, and our behavior. This is our circadian rhythm. While the loss of the moon's braking effect wouldn't immediately change the day's length, it would sever a link in the cosmic clockwork that has defined life for eons. The stable 24-hour day, a gift from our departing moon, is another one of the delicate balances that makes our world so hospitable. The consequences of a rapidly departing moon would extend far beyond the oceans and the length of our day. So many animals have evolved to rely on the moon as a guide for their most important life events. Take sea turtles, for example. When baby turtles hatch from their nests on the beach, they instinctively scramble towards the brightest horizon. On a natural, undeveloped beach, this is almost always the moonlight reflecting off the ocean surface. It's their guiding star, leading them to safety. Without a bright moon, or with a moon that was just a faint pinpoint of light, this vital instinct would fail. Hatchling turtles would become disoriented, unable to find the sea. They would wander aimlessly on the beach, becoming easy prey for predators or succumbing to exhaustion and dehydration. An entire species, ancient and majestic, could be pushed towards extinction simply because its celestial signpost had vanished from the sky. This is a pattern we would see repeated across the animal kingdom, a silent, devastating wave of confusion and collapse. Consider the phenomenon of mass spawning, one of nature's most spectacular events. On the Great Barrier Reef, hundreds of species of corals synchronize their reproduction, releasing their eggs and sperm into the water all at once on a few specific nights of the year. This event is timed with incredible precision, and the trigger is believed to be linked to the lunar cycle, specifically the full moons of late spring. This mass spawning strategy overwhelms predators and maximizes the chances of fertilization. If the moon's cycle became faint or undetectable, this ancient, synchronized reproductive dance would fall apart, jeopardizing the future of coral reefs worldwide. And it wouldn't just be the large, charismatic animals. Countless nocturnal insects navigate using the polarized light of the moon. Migratory birds are thought to use the moon, along with the stars, for long-distance navigation. Even predators like lions often have more success hunting on darker, moonless nights. The presence or absence of moonlight directly affects the balance between predator and prey. Removing the moon from the equation would throw these delicate, hard-won evolutionary strategies into chaos. Nature's clock would be broken, and the symphony of life, which has been playing in tune with the lunar cycle for millions of years, would dissolve into noise. Perhaps the most profound and terrifying consequence of a departing moon would be the loss of our planet's stability. As I mentioned, the moon's gravity acts like a giant stabilizer for Earth's axial tilt, or obliquity. Our tilt of 23.5 degrees is what gives us our predictable seasons. Summer in the northern hemisphere when it's tilted towards the sun, and winter when it's tilted away. This stability has been a cornerstone of Earth's relatively calm climate for hundreds of millions of years, allowing complex life to evolve and thrive in a world with predictable, regular patterns. If the moon were to drift away, its stabilizing gravitational influence would wane. Over long periods, thousands to hundreds of thousands of years, Earth's axial tilt would begin to wobble chaotically. Scientists who have modeled this scenario suggest our tilt could swing wildly, from nearly 0 degrees, no seasons at all, to as much as 85 degrees, the Earth lying on its side, like Uranus. The climatic consequences of such a wobble would be almost beyond comprehension. The very definitions of the equator, the tropics, and the poles would lose their meaning. Imagine an Earth tilted at 85 degrees. For part of the year, the North Pole would point almost directly at the sun. The entire Arctic Circle would experience a season of unimaginable heat, a continuous day lasting for months where the ice caps would completely melt, flooding the planet. Meanwhile, the Southern Hemisphere would be plunged into a deep, dark, and frigid winter. Then, 6 months later, the situation would reverse. Such extreme swings between scorching heat and deep freeze would make it impossible for most complex life, including forests, agriculture, and animal populations, to survive. This climatic chaos would make our planet hostile to civilization as we know it. Agriculture would become impossible when the definition of a growing season changes drastically from one millennium to the next. Cities built on coastlines would be inundated by melting ice caps, while other regions would be scoured by expanding deserts. The Earth would become a planet of violent extremes, not the gentle, nurturing world we know. The moon, our silent guardian, is the reason we have been spared this fate. Its presence has provided the long-term stability necessary for us to be here, thinking about it at all. As we contemplate this future, we see a world transformed. The moon, now a tiny dim point of light, offers no comfort in the profoundly dark night. The oceans are still and silent, their great tidal breath gone forever. The coastlines are littered with the ghosts of once vibrant ecosystems. The days are a fixed length, but the seasons are gone, replaced by long, chaotic periods of extreme heat and cold as the Earth wobbles on its unstable axis. Life, where it still exists, is a shadow of its former self, clinging on in a world that has lost its rhythm, its anchor, its constant companion. The changes would be woven into the very soul of whatever remained of humanity. The word month, derived from the moon's cycle, would become an archaic term with no real-world meaning. The poetry and myths that once celebrated our glowing celestial partner would be studied like ancient texts from a lost civilization, describing a world that would seem like a fantasy. We would be a species disconnected from the cosmic cycles that shaped us, living on a planet that had lost a fundamental part of its identity. The moon would be a distant memory, a symbol of a stable, beautiful world that was lost. This thought experiment, imagining the moon's accelerated escape, does something wonderful. It reminds us of what we have right now. It forces us to look up and appreciate that familiar face in the sky, not just for its beauty, but for its profound importance. The moon is not just a rock, it is the conductor of our planet's orchestra. It dictates the tempo of the tides, it keeps our world spinning in a stable rhythm, and it has guarded our planet's climate for billions of years, allowing us and everything we know to exist. So the next time you see the moon, whether it's a slender crescent or a brilliant full disk, take a moment. Think of the immense silent work it is doing. Think of the tides, the stable seasons, and the very length of our day. It is a reminder that we live in a delicate, interconnected system, a cosmic dance of breathtaking complexity and beauty. Our world is the way it is because the moon is where it is, and its slow, graceful departure is part of a grand cosmic story. A story that, for now, has allowed us the perfect stage on which to live our lives.